Tell me about how all of it happened.
Okay. Clyde and I were having coffee, I think. I don't know when it was, last year sometime, and he mentioned it about me falling. And I said, yes, I remember you falling there at the Strax back in 2011. That is basically what it was. And he said if I would be a witness for him.
Just so I understand, is this the McDonald's that you used to work at many years before that?
Yes, it's on Columbia Avenue where I talked to him.
Mickey D's on Columbia?
Yeah.
Line 21. So you're having coffee.
Coffee.
Just you and Clyde.
Yeah, just me and Clyde.
And this coffee that you and Clyde were having, was that the first time that you had coffee after the fall?
Yes, yes.
Have you seen him in the McDonald's between February 2011 and September 2012 at the McDonald's?
I've seen him, but I didn't talk to him because I would be going out when he would be coming in. I've seen him a few times, but I didn't talk to him because I was always going in, getting stuff, and coming back out.
Okay, prior to September 5th, 2012, you and Clyde happened to be at McDonald's, happened to sit down and talk to each other while having coffee, and he discovered that you were there that day.
Yes.
With that meeting at McDonald's, when you guys were having coffee, occurred shortly before this statement that was prepared on September 5th, 2012?
Yes, I do believe it was. Maybe a little before.
Maybe a week before, 3 weeks before?
About that much, yeah.
Within a month?
Yeah, about a month, yeah.
Did you find it ironic or kind of funny that you were sitting there talking to him straight there? You guys were sitting at the table at McDonald's. You were having coffee. Who brings up the fact that he fell over there?
He did.
How did you respond?
I asked him what date it was that he fell, and he said it was February of 2011. And I asked him, what time it was. He said in the morning sometime. I said, well, I was in there around 11:30 in the morning, getting some milk and bread. I seen him fall, but, I told him, I seen you fall. But I didn't stop, turn around to come back in and talk to him about it, because I didn't think he hurt himself that bad or anything because he brought it up. I say, yeah, I remember that day, pretty much, And he asked me if I would, if I could be a witness that he fell there. I said, yeah, if you want me to.
Okay, line 22, page 53. Let me ask you this. You had this meeting at McDonald's on the coffee. You're talking about the incident from the time you fell up until the time you had this meeting at McDonald's. How many times had you run into him at McDonald's approximately?
Maybe 3 or 4 times. He would be sitting there. He would be sitting there, but I would just say hi to him, and that's it.
So the 3 or 4 times that you would have run into him at McDonald's between the time of the incident and the time you sat down for this meeting over coffee, you didn't have occasion on any of those 3 or 4 times to come up to him and ask him how he was doing or whether or not he got hurt from the fall. Is that correct?
That's right.
And during that time period, from the time he fell up to the time you had this meeting with him over coffee at McDonald's, these 3 or 4 times that you ran into him, was he using a cane?
I would say maybe half the time he was using it.
Did you have any other meetings with him that we have not discussed from the time of his fall?
No.
Was Mr. Franklin straight then? On September 5th, 2012, you signed a statement, Exhibit 2.
Uh-huh.
And that was in Mr. Franklin's attorney's handwriting.
Uh-huh.
Was that done at Mr. Kuzman's office?
Yes, sir.
So you drove from Hammond out to Maryville?
He picked me up. Clyde picked me up to come over there because I didn't have a car. Clyde picked me up and took me out there.
So you, Clyde, and Mr. Kuzman sat down at a table at Mr. Kuzman's office.
Yes, sir.
And you were talking and Mr. Kuzman was writing,
Yes, sir.
and then Mr. Kuzman got done writing, you signed page 4 in 2 places.
Yes, sir.
Did you read everything Mr. Kuzman wrote?
Yes, sir.
Did you have any trouble reading his handwriting?
No, sir. You wouldn't be able to read mine, to be honest with you.
Did he write down word for word what you told him?
Yes, he did.
All right, go to page 56, line 19. Now read the next sentence for me.
I was visiting that same store and saw Mr. Franklin fall in aisle 2 area, which is vacant by the cash register place for items in aisle 1. That is register 1, which it is supposed to be. It says, I went to help. I didn't. I think Mr. Kuzman didn't.
Understand you?
Yes, understand.
So you didn't really go help.
No.
And then it says, okay, I went to help Mr. Franklin who fell on the floor, and then what's the next word?
Where about are you at?
Right here.
Floor. Partially? Partially in the cash register. Partially in the cash register, in the cashier's vacant. That is where the cashier usually gets in the aisle. And the second one. See it? It's 1 and 2.
So it's cashier what?
Vacancy. That is where nobody was.
So the word is vacancy after cashier?
Yeah.
Is that the word you used or the word Mr. Kuzman used?
That is the word I use.
In line 13. The next sentence says, other employees were helping Mr. Franklin up. It was obvious that he was hurt. So what you saw then was that employees were around him. There were more than one?
Right.
And they were helping him up?
Right.
Were customers helping him up?
No.
Just employees? Okay.
Just the employees.
And it says next, under Mr. Franklin was a twisted mat that was in front of the cash register in aisle 1 that did not have a rubber backing and was wet. Is that what it says?
Yes.
So if I understand that right, I thought when we talked earlier, you were not able to see his feet.
Well, I'm thinking now, and I was able to see his feet. I'm thinking back now, and I could see his feet was twisted. I seen his feet were twisted with the wet mat because he fell backwards and twisted himself.
So, I'm sorry, was the mat twisted in his feet or were his feet twisted?
I think his feet were twisted. No, I think the mat was twisted in his feet.
The mat was twisted in his feet. Is that what you recall?
Yeah.
You're doing this. You're holding your head. You're trying to remember from your head and not what's on the paper.
Yes.
And the best of your memory is the mat was twisted on his feet, correct?
Twisted into his feet, yes.
Describe that to me.
It's a black rubbery piece, just like it's like a rug almost you put down for comfort. It's what they stand on, but they're supposed to actually have a backing on it, but it didn't. And when it gets wet, it does get slippery. I don't know if you've ever seen at Target stores and that they have better mats. I think they upgraded the mats since this happened.
Objection. Ask that to be stricken, Your Honor. Subsequent legal measure.
Yes. Stricken, sustained.
Go to line 24. So the rubber mats by this register that was twisted around Mr. Franklin's feet was similar to the mats out front?
Similar, almost, yes.
Now the next sentence says it had snowed that morning and there were tracks of ice, snow, and water on the aisle. What did you mean by that?
Well, people come in, they shop, and they track stuff in. A lot of people got these boots. You can have ice, bring ice underneath the boots. and they stomp their feet when they come in, when they go to the cash register. It starts drying up, melting, because you get these boots that has got these treads in them. They can have ice in them. They can fall out when you're walking.
Okay, I guess my question is, are you saying here in this sentence that Mr. Kuzman wrote to you that there was ice, snow, and water in the checkout aisle where Mr. Franklin fell?
Yes, it was slippery right in there, yes.
And that is something you personally observed?
Yeah.
The floors in the area are highly polished tile floors and are very slippery, even when dry.
Yes.
Why did you say that?
Because they are very slippery sometimes. They're a high glass wax. They shine. You can slide them.
My question was, do you know the outside floor crew company that comes in at night and does it for us? I asked what type of wax they use, and you said no.
Well, that is what I think they used, is high gloss. I don't actually know. I'd assume what they use because it's all over the store. It's a shiny wax. It's all over the store in straps. Like most of your stores use shiny wax. Target does, Sears, and all of them stores do. But I don't know how high a gloss it is, because when I used to do burgers, I used to put dull, not shiny wax.
Are you familiar today that there's a product that is a high gloss product that is slip preventative?
No, I didn't.
So you don't know if they were using that product?
No, not that product.
You don't know if they were using that product, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Then it says on February 1st, 2011, there was a lot of moisture on those tile floors which made them even more slippery. What are you talking about there?
Water and snow and slush.
Do you know if anyone else fell that day?
No, I don't.
Did you fall that day?
No, I didn't.
Did you slip on the floor that day?
No, but I have slipped on floors that way before.
My question is, though, did you slip on a floor that day?
No, I didn't.
You didn't see anyone slip on the floors that day other than Clyde.
That's right.
And on that particular day, you didn't slip on any of the floors that were dry, correct?
That's right.
I want you to go to the next page, page 2. The practice of strapping the floor was to roll up the comfort mats in the cashier's area and place them in a storage shelf area under the cash register.
Yeah, that is where they keep stored paper towels.
How do you know that is the practice?
Because I've seen other people do it. And as far as I'm concerned, that is the way I was brought up to do it when I worked there. Because I would check it every night. Or when I worked there, I would go in the registers to check to see if nobody is in there, and I would check to see if the mat is rolled up.
So, what you do is to take that mat, Mr. Franklin was twisted on in his feet, you would roll it up and put it in the area under the register.
Right, so they wouldn't fall, because as far as I'm concerned, the mats are more of a hazard than they're worth, because I've seen cashiers fall, slip on them.
In the middle of paragraph page 2 of Exhibit 2, it says, also there is a silver chain, you use the chain off the vacant cash register when no cashiers were working there. That is a chain we talk about that goes across so one can go up and down the aisle.
That's right. That's right.
Next it says, there are eyes to hook the chain on, but on February 1st, 2011, that chain was not stretched across the vacant. You see that?
Yes.
And you're talking about the eye. Is that the eye that is off the side of the aisle?
Right. So you can hook the chain up to the other side so nobody can get in.
So no one could get through the aisle of the checkout area.
Right.
Let's go to page 3. There are no signs in the area noticing people not to step in the cashier station. Can you see that on the top of page 3, Exhibit 2?
I'm seeing it, yes.
What do you mean by that?
What do I mean by that?
Yeah.
Well, that means that they shouldn't. It should be either they should have that chained across, or they should have had something that said, do not enter.
Why is that?
Because you're not supposed to, when you get cash registers empty, you're supposed to put a chain in, or else you're supposed to put a sign there that says, do not enter.
Was that something Strax instructed you to do?
No, I do. What I usually do if there's nobody in the register.
I appreciate that, and we're going to get to that in a minute, okay? My question is,
No, they don't expect me to do that, but that is a courtesy that I do.
in fact, you're not even responsible for maintenance or anything dealing with the cash register area, correct?
Correct.
And you were never responsible for that, whether it was a Strax, whether it was a Key Markets or Burgers, correct?
At Burgers I did it.
You did what?
I rolled those things up at night, or I rolled them up when nobody was there. That was part of my thing to do there.
Were you instructed to do that, or was that something you took on your own?
Well, I was instructed by Mr. Berger himself. If you see a cash register, it's empty, and there is a mat down there, and it's wet out, roll it up and put it underneath the register so nobody slips. And I practiced that ever since. To me, that is a preventative thing so nobody does slip and fall.
Did you ever examine the mat that Mr. Franklin fell on?
Yeah, it's a flat surface mat.
That particular mat that he fell on, did you actually examine it any time after the fall?
No.
Do you know whether or not the mats were the same at each cash register that day?
No, I'm not sure.
Do you know whether or not there were any type of tape on the mats?
No, I do. No, I don't.
Did you cover everything in the statement you told Mr. Kuzman?
As far as I know.
Is there anything about the accident that happened that day that you and I did not talk about today?
Incident.
Oh, incident.
No, not that I know of.
Let me reread that question. Is there anything about this incident that happened that day that you and I did not talk about today?
No, not that I know of.
Did you speak with anyone from the store at any time that day or at any time after that day regarding the accident?
No.
Incident.
No.
Is there anything that happened after you left the store that day up until today that we did not talk about?
No.
Regarding this incident,
No.
regarding Mr. Franklin's injuries.
No, nothing.
So we're pretty much expanded everything you know about what happened that day?
Right.
Conversations you had with Mr. Franklin afterwards?
Right.
Going to Kuzman's office?
Yep, that's it.
We've exhausted it all.
As far as I know, yes.
No further questions.
Okay. Kuzman?
Thank you, Your Honor. Let me check my notes. Going back to the day of the fall on February the 1st, 2011, you said that you were on your way out of the store, but then you turned around and you did in fact see Clyde fall in the cashier's area.
He went down, yes.
Went down.
Yes, I didn't know where, how. I seen him fall, but I didn't know how bad he fell or anything.
And I think you said he fell backwards.
Yeah, I think so.
That would be backward against the, what would you call that, aisle 2?
Yeah, I think that's what. Yeah, I think so.
Was he checking out in aisle 1 or aisle 2? I'm not sure how it is numbered.
He was in, okay, you've got aisle 1 here. You got where the grocery carts is, but there is the next register, which they call 1.
So if you are standing in line to check out where Clyde was on the day of the incident, the customer would actually pass by the cashier station for aisle 2 before they got to the conveyor belt for aisle 1. Is that correct?
Let me see. Okay. You put your things on the conveyor belt, put your groceries on the conveyor belt, and you come down. But between there and that is aisle 2. Aisle 1 is, let me see that.
Let's go to line 22. All right, look at what's been marked Exhibit 3. Is that a picture of the aisle to the best of your recollection on the day that Mr. Franklin fell at Stratton Van Til store?
Yes.
for the information for the jury, this was exhibit 3 that was referred to earlier and shown things to. I'll repeat my question. All right, look at what's been marked exhibit 3. Is that a picture of the aisle to the best of your recollection on the day that Mr. Franklin's valid structures entered the store?
Yes.
All right, now the picture shows on the right side like a wall, correct?
Right.
And isn't that where the cashier register would be when he or she would occupy the cashier area?
Right, that's right.
So in the foreground of the exhibit, there is a mat on the floor.
Right.
Is that the mat that eventually you saw twisted around his feet?
Somewhat, yes.
No, that is not a non-skid mat, is it? That is a comfort mat.
That is the comfort mat, yes.
For the convenience of the cashiers.
Right. So they can stand on something instead of standing on the floor.
And then as you go forward, you see on the top, left side, picture on the exhibit at the beginning, on this exhibit at the beginning of the conveyor belt. I called it a conveyor belt. It's a checkout belt. Is that what you called it?
Whatever you want to call it.
And then there is an aisle here indicating.
Right.
And that is where the customers go through to check out.
Right.
So on the day of the fall, you said you saw Mr. Franklin back into the cashier's area.
Right.
And that is what I can call the cashier.
Yeah, that is what you call the cashier, because see this is where the cashier goes here. This is where the register is.
But now this photograph is not taken on the day of the incident.
Okay.
But if, when I asked you, is it a representation pretty much of the way this looked on the day of the incident?
Yes.
All right, and on the day of the incident, the cashier wasn't in the area.
No, she wasn't.
It was vacant.
Right.
You notice on the top left of the picture there is a chain.
Right.
That is the chain we're talking about that is stretched across the aisle to the left.
Right.
And this aisle would not be in use.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but we also talked about the fact that this chain also could stretch across, and there was an eye, which you can't see on the photograph, for you to chain off the cashier area, correct?
Right. Yeah.
The day of the incident, was that chain stretched across to prevent anyone from going into this cashier area?
No, sir.
Was not.
No.
You know why it wasn't?
Maybe a cashier just left that station and didn't do it, didn't put it back.
All right, so there's nothing to prevent customers from actually stepping into the place on the cashier.
No. But if that chain was there, you wouldn't have been able to get in.
All right, so on the day of the fall, that chain was not stretched across the back of the cashier station to prevent people like Clyde from stepping into that area.
No.
Correct?
Correct.
And there was also, I think, you testified, that on the day of the incident, there was no sign to warn people, to tell them that they shouldn't be in this area, correct?
That's right.
Go to line 20. All right, now I am calling your attention to what has been marked as Exhibit 4.
Okay, all right.
This is a picture of the same aisle we've been talking about.
Right.
The vacant cashier.
Right.
And only is taken more so from a camera's moved to the left, and you have more of the view of the cashier's station, right?
Okay.
And does that show more of the mat, the comfort mat for the cashier when she occupied that area?
Yes, it does.
All right, it also shows where you would put your checkout items over here to the extreme left, right?
Yes, sir.
It also shows a chain that was laying on top of it. Was it in Exhibit 3?
Yep.
Right.
Right.
And notice over here indicating, is that an eye for the chain to hook onto when the cashier station should have been chained off?
Yes.
All right, so that chain would have been easily stretched across, hooking to that eye, correct?
Yes.
And it wasn't on the day of the incident,
No.
correct?
Correct.
Exhibit 5. I will show you what has been marked as Exhibit 5. same aisle.
Okay.
Now, what you're seeing is a big blow up of the comfort mat in front of you, is that correct?
That's right.
Is that typical of the mat that was used at Stratton and Van Til, at least in that aisle, on the day that Mr. Franklin fell?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then up at the top of Exhibit 5, you see some bins, don't you?
Yes, sir.
And there is things stored in that bin.
Yep, Capri Sun and something else.
Is that for things that the cashier would perhaps put under the counter that maybe customers didn't want?
Right. And either this or this when they can stick the mat indicating.
You couldn't put the mat in.
When it was empty.
So initially, when you testified, you said that you had went to the front of the store, then looked over, and you saw them fall, then you left, correct?
Yeah.
Then later on, you thought about it after reviewing the statement, that you did come back and look at the mat.
Yeah.
And you found it twisted, is that correct?
Yes.
Now,
Yeah, I come back about an hour later.
go to line 24.
I remember coming back an hour later now since I've seen this stuff here indicating.
All right. This statement was taken on the 5th day of September 2012, correct?
As far as I know it was. Is that what you got down?
I will show you a copy of the exhibit.
Okay.
Now, that is over a year ago.
Yeah, that is about, what, 18 months ago? 15 months?
15 months ago.
15, 16 months ago?
On that day, was your memory perhaps better than it was today as to details, I mean?
Yeah, I think it would be.
All right, is everything that you told me and I wrote down in your statement true and correct?
Yes, as far as I remember, yes.
All right, do you see anything in here that is not true?
No.
Do you see anything here that you didn't tell me?
No.
Do you see anything in here that is contrary in any way to what in fact happened on the day of the incident?
No, it isn't. No.
And under your signature, go to the last page, you have it. Under your signature, you have what is called verification, right?
Yep.
And it says, quote, "I declare under the penalties of perjury that the above is true, and that I make this statement of my own act without any threats or promises of receiving any reward or punishment."
Right.
Is that true?
Yes, sir.
And you've not been promised anything?
No.
You've not been paid anything?
No.
You don't expect anything?
Sure don't.
Why were you giving this statement?
Just to help the person out to verify what happened. And if he gets anything out of it, that's fine. I don't want any reward out of it or anything. I'm just trying to help the person out. I don't want anything. I'm just trying to help the person, a good friend.
All right.
I don't expect anything out of it, Mr. Kuzman. I don't expect anything else.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let me review my notes further for a moment.
I think I said that to Mr. Franklin. I don't want anything out of it. I'm just trying to help you. That is all I'm doing. Whatever he gets, it's his. I don't want anything out of it.
All right, let me ask you this. When you went back there an hour later, was the mat twisted then?
No.
How did you know the mat was twisted?
Because the way it was turned, it was still turned that way because there was nobody in it.
When did you see the mat turned or twisted in that area?
When I came back, you mean what time I came back or what?
Was that the hour later?
About an hour later or something like that.
Why did you come back an hour later?
Because my wife sent me for something else that I forgot to pick up.
So you went home, in other words.
Yeah, I went home and came back.
Were you able to walk? What was it, a mile or half a mile?
Yeah.
And
I can't remember actually what I went to get, but I remember going because she sent me for something, and I picked it up and went down that register aisle where that map was.
I see. You were down the very same aisle that Mr. Franklin walked in.
Right.
And it was you, and it was you went back because at least your wife told you that.
Yeah, when she says something.
So you were able to walk home. And leave the things that you got with no regret.
Right.
And then you went back. You walked another mile back.
Sure.
So, could you walk 2 miles in an hour?
Hour and a half, yeah.
Do you remember what you went back to get?
I can't remember actually.
Did you get it, whatever it was?
I think I did.
It was one item?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was one item, but I don't remember what it was.
You didn't take a card?
No.
So you went into the store approximately an hour after you saw Mr. Franklin fall, and you went down the very same line.
The cash register, yes.
Cash register, okay. If I'm using the wrong words, correct me if you would. All right, I don't mind that.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you call it lane or aisle or whatever, okay?
Aisle.
All right,
Or checkout lane.
checkout lane. And why did you select that lane to go on?
Just to see if it had been turned.
So you're curious about,
I was curious about it, but I didn't think, I just wanted to see if they had straightened it out or not.
you were curious about what made him fall?
Right.
And then what did you see on that occasion?
It had still been about the same way.
When you looked at these exhibits of the mats on exhibit 3, 4, and 5, those three, is that the mat that was twisted from the room?
Yeah.
However you,
Yeah.
okay, and you said it was slippery.
Uh-huh.
You said it was slippery in your statement and in your testimony today that it was slippery for a number of reasons, correct?
That's right.
One of the reasons was that it didn't have a rubber backing, correct?
Correct.
What kind of backing did it have? A cloth or fabric?
Just like a regular, just like how the top was the same on the bottom, it didn't have a rubber backing.
So it would not be a mat that would resist lifting, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Like some of the other mats in front of the store?
Right.
All right, those mats are all rubber.
Right. They're black, rubber ones, yeah. They got little things underneath them.
Another reason you testified to was the snow and ice had been tracked in.
Yes.
By other customers before Mr. Franklin fell, correct?
Yes.
And that snow and ice was in the aisle as well as in the cashiers there,
Yes.
on that slippery mat, correct?
Right.
And that combined with the high gloss of the slippery surface of the floor
Uh-huh.
is what caused Mr. Franklin to fall, in your opinion?
Yes, I would say so, yes.
And that is based on your experience in having seen people fall on the floor?
Yes, yes.
Based on your experience of even falling on the cashier's area?
Right. Yes, sir.
When you fell in the cashier's area, and that was at Strack and Van Til,
Yes.
was it because the mat also caused you to fall?
Yeah.
Okay, now, the kind of wax that you mentioned before really didn't make a lot of difference what kind of wax it was when it gets wet surface, correct?
Wax is wax. When it gets wet, it's slippery. Because I've noticed that when I wax my floor at home. It's like,
Okay, and was that floor wet under the mat?
as far as I know, it was.
Okay, and the mat was, what would you say? Was it soaked? Was it wet?
It was wet. I don't know if it was soaked completely, but it was wet.
Do you know if the wetness went through the mat?
The thing is, it can go through the mat.
You saw it, it was twisted, right?
Uh-huh.
And it was just laying there an hour after the incident?
Yeah, I don't think they use the cash register. Sometimes they skip. They don't use the same, sometimes they push them down from the door.
Cash register area was still working when you went back?
Uh-huh.
The mat was still there?
Uh-huh.
But how it was twisted? How it was twisted?
Uh-huh.
When you say twisted, you mean that maybe part of the bottom was showing from the top?
Might have been. I couldn't actually see.
Well, at least it wasn't flat.
Right.
Was it the best way you could have described it?
It was probably like buckled.
Buckled, okay.
Like bent, like bent.
And at that point, did you see the moisture on the floor under where the mat had been partially released?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least it will leave a mark there. It will leave like a wet spot there.
Was there a wet spot there?
Yeah, there was a wet spot. Yes, that area.
And after an hour after Mr. Franklin's fall, did anyone from the store or the management take up that mat?
I don't know.
It was still there.
It was still there.
Was there a chain that was stretched across the cashier's area,
No,
just like it was before?
just like it was before.
Okay, of course, you're a customer. You didn't work for Strack at this time.
No, I retired.
So you didn't have any responsibility as an employee to do anything about it, correct?
No, that's right.
And you didn't have your responsibility of providing them with any fact that they better do something about it or something else would fall, or someone else would fall, correct?
That's correct.
So when Mr. Woodward asked you, had anyone else gone on that day, and you said no, you only can testify to the fact that no one fell during the very brief time that you were there the first time.
That's right. That's right.
How long would that be approximately?
Like they told me, about an hour to an hour and a half, and I went back.
How long were you in the store the first time?
Oh,
20 minutes?
about 20 minutes.
So you saw no one fall in the store that time.
No.
When you went back and got your other items, how long were you in the store?
Maybe 15 minutes.
So a total of perhaps a total of half an hour, and you didn't see anyone fall.
No.
And but did you see anyone while you were in the store for approximately 30 minutes had gone in the very same place that Mr. Franklin slipped and fell, namely the cashier, maybe the cashier's place?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No.
Prior to you seeing Clyde Franklin in the McDonald's store, when you did in fact finally sit down and talk with him,
Uh-huh.
you never, I believe you testified, you never talked with him about this incident before.
No.
And was it just because it wasn't an opportunity to sit down with him, or he was with somebody else?
He is usually with someone else a lot of times. A lot of times I just go in to get coffee and come back out.
All right, so even though you've seen him 3 or 4 times before that, there really was no opportunity to sit down.
No, not really.
However, when you did finally see him, he was alone. I mean, when you talked with him.
Yeah, we talked. There wasn't anybody there.
And who brought up the subject of him? I think you testified he did, that he had.
He did, yes.
And then you compared dates and found out that this was the very same day that he was talking about.
Right.
Up to that time, you never talked to him about this, correct?
No.
Or anyone else, correct?
No, correct.
Did anyone from Strack and Benfield ever call you to take a statement from him?
No.
Did anyone from Strack and Benfield write to you to come in and talk to you about this?
Nobody did.
How long of a period of time was it when you, I forgot the dates, and maybe you can tell me from your memory, how long of a period of time was it before Clyde Franklin that you retired from the very same store? Was it a year, 2 years? I forgot.
It might have been 3 years since I retired. I retired in 2010.
Well, this incident happened in 2011 February.
Right. But I was in the store then. I retired in October 2010, and this happened in February, so that is what, about 2 or 3 months after I retired?
Now, when you did work at Strack and Benfield up until the time that you retired, even though you may have been working in displays, I think you were stocking or a combination of things.
Right.
Did you do miscellaneous things in the store to clean it up? Or if you saw something that needed your attention?
I would get somebody I would always get the utility clerks to clean up the stuff up front.
All right, did you have an occasion before Mr. Franklin's fall to ever go into these vacant cashier areas and roll up the mats and put them under the cash register?
Yes, I did that a few times, yes.
That wasn't your job.
No,
Strack and Benfield object to you helping out?
they never said a word about it.
Did they observe you doing that?
They might have, I don't know, but I usually do it. But I would roll them up just as a courtesy, because, people fall on that. They get hurt.
Strack and Benfield at the time you worked had cameras in the store.
Right.
Were there cameras over the checkout windows?
I don't know, I'm not sure.
To your knowledge?
I'm not sure if they did or not.
Okay, but you had cameras throughout the store to your knowledge?
As far as
They had cameras throughout the store, to your knowledge?
As far as I know, they did. I think they did. I'm not sure.
All right, and all the time you worked there, prior to your retiring, there were always a number of cashiers and management people walking around the store during the normal course of business. Were they not?
Maybe once. I would say once in a while.
All right.
Maybe they would be in the offices.
All right, but when they were on the floor, or if they had cameras, they were able to observe this area of Mr. Franklin fell.
I guess they would. I'm not sure.
Well, you saw the area, even though when you worked there, I mean, you saw people going through those aisles, correct?
Oh, yeah.
So did anyone in Stratton Van Til tell them that they should not try to correct things like mats that would be not rolled up and put under the cashiers?
No, they never told me that.
And you knew this because of the custom and practice that you learned even though you were working at burgers.
That's right.
Before that, well, after that, what was it? Steve Martin.
Yep.
And after that, the Stratton Van Til, when Stratton Van Til took over Steve Martin.
Right.
That is a matter of practice.
That was my practice, yes.
All right, did you ever see anyone else help out that way, any other employee?
Not actually.
All right. You were line one, I think.
But when it was burgers, that is what they taught us. You know, if you see an empty place and the mat is down, roll it up so nobody gets hurt.
On the date in question, when Mr. Franklin fell, that didn't happen, did it?
No, it didn't. It sure did. No.
In your statement, you said, let's go to that on the first page, second paragraph, on or about February the 1st, 2011, 11:30 a.m. I was visiting that same store and saw Mr. Clyde Franklin fall in aisle 2. That is not the right number. What would you call that aisle? Aisle 1 or aisle 2?
It'd probably be aisle 2.
In that area, the vacant cashier's place for aisle 1.
Uh-huh.
Quote, I went to help Clyde Franklin, he fell on the floor partially in cashier's location in the checkout lane, aisle 2. Remember doing that now?
Let me think. I just can't remember.
I'm sorry.
I can't remember.
All right, at the time that you gave me this statement, I wrote it down. Do you have any problems with the fact that you told me that and I wrote it down?
I have no problem with that. I just don't remember if I did say it, that's all.
You're not suggesting that I invented it?
No.
In all probabilities, it's what you may have said at the time to the best of your recollection at that time?
Yes.
You said other employees were helping Mr. Franklin out, and it was obvious he was hurt. How was it obvious that he was hurt? Was he dizzy? Was he complaining about anything? Was he unsteady? What made you come to that conclusion?
Well, usually I think if you're falling, you are going to hurt yourself somewhere.
When he fell, did he hit his head on the back of the counter?
I don't remember what he did.
Was he wearing a hat?
Yes, he always wears a hat.
Was his hat knocked off, do you recall?
I can. I don't. I'm not sure.
Did he show any other indications of being confused or...
Not that I can remember, sir.
All right, when the people in the store helped him, did they call an ambulance for him?
I don't remember. I don't think. I wasn't around at the time.
When you came back an hour later, was Mr. Franklin still there?
No. I looked for him. I didn't see him unless they had him in the office asking me questions. That is the only thing I can think. I didn't see him there.
Let's go to page 98, line 2. I'm sure Mr. Mark, Exhibit 6.
Yeah, that's him.
Is that Clyde Franklin?
That is Clyde Franklin. Yes, sir. That is Mr. Franklin.
And where are those chairs, or that chair that he is sitting in? Where would that be in regard to the layout of the store?
That might be there near the bank.
Near the back?
Uh-huh. Sometimes they got a bench there now, but that might have been where he was, near the bank, because this might be where the bank was. See, they used to have a bank in there.
The bank in front of the store?
Yeah.
So that is in the front of the store?
As far as I know, that is in the front.
Just inside where the front door is?
I think that's where it is.
Is that the same clothing that he wore on the day that he fell?
As far as I know, it is.
he did have a hat on,
Yep.
and that was his jacket, right?
Yep.
He wasn't using a cane that day?
Nope.
I think you testified that when you had seen him prior, at any time, and all times that you saw him prior to the fall, that he wasn't using a cane.
That's right.
And after the fall, when you saw him a few times, most of the time he was using a cane.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
That's right, sir.
And you talked to Mr. Franklin McDonald's, and he told me that he had no damage, but he also tell you anything about how he fell.
He said he fell backwards. I think he said. I'm not sure.
He slipped on the mat, did he tell you that?
Yeah.
Is that consistent with what you knew on your own after you went back and looked after that?
Yes.
All right, no inconsistencies that you know of?
Not that I remember.
All right, to be absolutely clear, there was nothing to warn Mr. Franklin not to go into the cashier's station.
That's right.
No signs?
No.
No chain stretch across the cashier's area?
No, nothing.
Even though there was a chain there that could have been used?
Right, that's right.
No warning signs?
No.
Could have put up warning signs, in your opinion, couldn't have?
Yes, they could.
As a matter of fact, there is a warning sign in one of those photographs
Is there?
for something else.
Oh.
You see on Exhibit 3, on the checkout counter, there's a little sign indicating.
Yeah.
Is that a warning sign not to get your hands into the conveyor belts?
Yes, and the conveyor belts.
So they had the capacity of putting up warning signs for that.
Right, but didn't have the capacity for the other.
But not for getting into a cashier station.
Right.
Do you recall how much it was snowed that day?
No, I don't.
When you walked home,
I know it snowed quite a bit.
and did when you came to the store the first time? Did you have snow in your shoes or boots?
I stopped them out.
Okay, but as you said, that still carries into the store before it melts off.
Right.
When you went through that checkout counter, the very same one that Clyde Franklin found in, was there water on the floor still?
Yeah, there was still water.
There was still wet in the cashier station?
Correct. That's right.
An hour hadn't been cleaned up then?
Right.
Same thing as it was an hour before, right?
Yes.
Were employees working in that area?
I can't remember. I'm not sure if they were or not, sir.
Well,
I think they might have done. I think when I went in, they had. They skipped the first two, had somebody at the third, fourth, and fifth. Sometimes they do that when it's cold out, so the cashiers don't catch a cold. They back them up a couple of them, so when the doors open, they don't.
but you checked out the very same lane that's the second time that you were in the store that Clyde Franklin fell in. Am I correct on that?
No, it was down one. I walked through that one.
Oh, you walked through.
Right. It was still in the same way it was.
Okay, when he fell, however, when you looked over and saw him fall, there was a cashier right in the very same aisle that he was going to check out, because other people were checking out before him.
Yeah.
How far in feet would you say would have been from where the cashier station is to where the man?
I couldn't actually tell you.
In Exhibit 3, the cashier would have been to the area behind the counter, correct? Indicated?
Yeah, it would be in this area, the cashiers indicated.
I'm talking about here, so see it out in the picture on the top
Right.
of Exhibit 3.
Right.
So she would be there, and that man would be in the foreground.
Right.
How much distance roughly is that?
Maybe about 4 or 5 feet, something like that.
She couldn't see the map then,
Yeah, I would think she would see it.
in your opinion?
Yeah, I would think she would see it, yes.
If you were standing in her cashier station, do you think you would have seen it?
Oh, yeah, I think I would have seen it.
All right, you also testified that when you were working Strack and Van Hills, when you saw other people pick up those mats in other aisles and store them?
Yeah. Isn't that what I said?
That is what I have here.
Yeah.
Go to line 14. You're talking about before you retired.
Yeah, before I retired, there would be a couple of us doing that sometimes at night, where we would see when it's not being used. We would check to see if the mat was down. If it was wet, we would pick them up.
And that was at the Sudbury store?
Yes, I've done that at most of the stores. I pick them up.
You saw other people working do that as well?
I've seen part-time people do it, yes. If the cashiers, if they carry out kids, see it there, they would do it.
All right, and why do they roll them up and put them under the cash register?
So to me, it's so people don't trip on them or fall, or if they're bringing stuff between the cashiers, like displays, like the carts, they've got displays on that. They can go through there without tangling up. Because I've gone through some of those counters and tangling them up when you bring a pallet jack in. They got certain ones that you can bring a pallet jack with displays of like water in it, and if you hit it right, well, just tangle it up and it will run in the rollers. They don't want that, to rip the pad all to heck. Basically, to me, it's a safety issue.
All right, you also said that you even saw cashiers fall on those lead mats.
Yes, I have, yeah.
How many times did you see that?
Oh, about 5 or 6 times I've seen them fall.
While you worked there?
While I worked there, yes.
Up until the time you retired?
Yes.
And that was like what, 3 or 4 months? Excuse me. 3 or 4 months, you said before Mr. Franklin fell.
Yeah, they're not the safest thing used.
No further questions.
Hey, Mr. Woodward?
Gary, how long after Mr. Franklin fell did you stand there and watch what was going on?
About 3 or 4, maybe about 5 or 6 minutes
5 or 6 minutes?
at the most.
Could it have been less than 5 minutes?
I'm not sure. I'm just saying about 5 or 6 at the most.
And so it could have been anywhere between, let's say, 2 minutes? Is that fair? 2 to 6 minutes, is that fair?
That is fair enough to say.
So after the fall, you stood, let me ask you this. When he fell, you were in front of the exit door, correct?
Just going out the exit, getting ready to go out the exit. Yes. Stay around the exit door. Yes.
And you would have turned around to your left to look back, right? And then you would have stood there roughly 2 to 6 minutes to see what was going on.
Right, basically, yes.
Okay. You recall, you said you were wearing boots that day
I think I was wearing boots.
because it was snowing pretty good.
I think I was wearing boots, yeah.
What else were you wearing?
Let me think. I don't actually remember what I was wearing. A coat or something I think I was wearing. I don't remember what coat it was. I don't even have the coat anymore.
Let's go to page 108, line 22. From where you were standing when Mr. Franklin fell, how far was that distance?
I couldn't actually tell you how far it
Was it more than 10 feet?
was. It might have been. I'm not sure how many feet it was.
Was it more than 20 feet?
No, I don't think that it was more than 20.
Between 10 and 20 feet?
About that.
Okay, let's go to page 110, line 25, or line 21. You talked about, while you were working at Strax before you retired, that you would put these chains across and roll up the mats. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
Is this something you did voluntarily, or is that something that requires part of your job?
I would say voluntarily I did it.
So no one instructed you, as part of your job, you were to make sure that the chain, that is chained up,
No.
and the mats were rolled up.
No, I do that. That is my own personal thing.
And you were privy, and you weren't aware of what was instructed of the cashiers to do when they weren't there, right?
That's right.
So you don't know if they were told to put up the mats or not.
Right.
Go to line 18, page 111. I know I asked you pretty specifically when I was asking questions about, we talked about everything regarding the incident, and then whenever counsel here, plaintiff's counsel, started asking questions, you said you came back an hour later. Do you remember that?
I remember saying I came back an hour later, yes, but I forgot. I was trying, I didn't, what I did is I didn't actually, I forgot to tell you I came back an hour later.
Okay. But you remember when counsel asked you that?
Yes, because it came back to me.
Well, let's talk about that. You didn't talk to any employees when Mr. Franklin fell,
No.
when you saw the incident.
Right.
All right. You came back an hour later, right?
Right.
And you shopped the store again, correct?
Right.
And let me ask you with the black pen, can you tell me the route you took the second time around?
I came in here like this. I went down indicating.
Your Honor, in order to save time instead of asking the questions, the deponent made in blue ink on Exhibit 1, the second route, so we don't have to go through all the questions. Do you have any objection, counsel?
No.
Page 114, line 17. Did you, during your second visit, at any time talk to anyone at the store and ask them what happened with Mr. Franklin?
No.
Did you at all talk, did you at all tell anyone at the store the second time you were around that, hey, I was here an hour before this guy fell, someone ought to put the chain up?
No.
Did you, in your second visit, ever go up to anyone at the store and say, hey, by the way, this guy fell over here an hour ago. It's a friend of mine. I know him. He slipped on the mat, and this mat is still on the floor, still wet. It needs cleaned up.
No.
In fact, the second time at the store, you just went about your business, but you took enough time out of your day to examine the aisle he fell in.
Uh-huh.
But you didn't do anything else.
No.
Did you ever, any time prior to your retirement, tell any manager that you thought it was a good idea to make sure that the chains were up, that the mats were off the floor when the cashiers were not working?
I mentioned it to, I can't remember who. I mentioned to one of them, but I don't know if he is still, I can't remember who it was. I mentioned something in the conversation with one of them. I don't remember who it was, though. I mentioned to him about something like that, putting chains up or rolling up mats, but that's it.
Do you know what manager it was?
I do.
Let's go down to page 117, line 18. Did you examine the mat the first time you were at the store when Mr. Franklin fell?
No, I did the second time you come here.
So you didn't go up to the area and determine how wet it was?
No.
And when you checked out the first time, you didn't go down the aisle, so you don't know how wet it was, correct?
Correct.
I have no further questions.
Just one question. When you were asked by Mr. Woodward, did you notify anybody in Strax of what you saw and about the mat and the water and the danger in aisle 2? That was not your job, right?
That's right.
You have no obligation to warn them.
That's right.
Were you of the opinion that if anyone should know about it, they should?
Yes.
You had no duty to make that available to them. You were no longer an employee.
That's right.
Thank you. No further questions.
Hello? Mr. Woodward, do you have anything else?
No, I don't have anything else.
All right. That's all for this witness. All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to recess for the day, ladies and gentlemen. Before we do, Councilman